Truth.
Okay, Hangouts is live.
When you're ready.
3, 2, go.
Good evening, all. Gary Gabagool here with my boy Sal.
Hey, guys.
Red podcast number 36. Starting off with a little Hendrix, all on the Watchtower. Not that it has any meaning. We just love the intro.
Yeah.
So
Great way to come
intro.
into a show. Gets you pumped up.
Yeah, it gets you psyched up. It's a great intro. One of the best Hendrix songs that if I'm not mistaken, I think
This is Bob Dylan.
Yeah, he duped off Bob Dylan.
Dylan cover.
But not for nothing, the guitar work in the intro is just phenomenal.
When I was hearing like a guy explaining, he's like, sometimes you hear the cover version of songs and you get more knowledge of what the actual songwriter was thinking.
Yeah,
at the time.
And Dylan, to me, I mean, I thought Dylan's a really good songwriter, but his music just really,
he's not the best performer.
Yeah, his lyrical skills suck, and he's kind of boring to me. And Hendrix just brought it to a whole new level, and probably one of the best covers of all time. One of all time, but a lot going on today. So we're going to start off the podcast with we've had personally just a crazy ass week.
This was a week of psychos, everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know, like a lot of it was on, we had this guy on the podcast page who was losing it. We had guys on Gary's podcast page losing it. And from my accounts of it, they all were triggered by this one magical word, God.
Yeah.
And their lack of belief and bitterness towards him or her showed big time.
It was a crazy mix of two things that I found. One, Sal was mentioning the word God. We had all these crazy atheists who went off the deep end. The second thing that I found that really set liberals off was calling Obama a Muslim.
Yeah.
When you called Obama a Muslim, these liberals lost their shit. They literally went on this name-calling tirade that was just comical.
And every one of these guys who attacked me and Gary on our podcast page, on Gary's personal page, they all fit this formula. I'm sorry, I got a phone call. They all fit this formula. They attack, we respond, they play victim. Every single time. Maybe one guy actually came with a little bit of anecdotal stuff and actually had something to say. Everyone else, complete jerk off.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I understand now how someone in a high, profile position like President Trump could get so sick and tired of this just blatant nonsense. It's funny. Sal came in and the first thing we both said, and he said, this is a lesson in futility. If you go on one of my Facebook posts, that's exactly what I said, a lesson in futility. It's almost like they grind you down with their nonsense because you waste so much time giving them information. And for example,
it's just futile to me.
It's futile. We had a gentleman today who was saying that Obama's responsible for the current, great things going on with the economy, which we'll get into later. I have some information on that. But it's funny because when I asked them, wait a second, when the economy was failing pretty miserably under Obama, all he did was blame Bush. And I find it hard to believe that. Now, listen, I'll be the first one, and Sal can concur with his opinion, that George Bush's last four years, he acted like a liberal Democrat. We say this all the time. He failed terribly, horrifically. Brought the debt up to $10 trillion, and Obama carried it to 20. So equally, they were miserable. Bush for the 4, Obama for the 8. But he blamed, up until like 7 3/4 years, him and Hillary both still blamed Bush for the economy. Now, Trump takes over 11 months into it. There's a lot of promise going on. We could talk about it later. And now he's sitting there in front of, groups of people that are paying him and taking credit for the economy turning around finally.
I mean, what an elaborate plan Obama had. I'm going to tank the economy to shit when I'm president. But the year after I'm not president anymore, I'm going to make the economy be great. If that was his plan, that's some evil genius, crazy, psychotic wizard stuff.
Well, here's the thing.
What is it, Gandalf from Lord of the Rings? Like, how the hell would he know this?
Well,
like, it's so ridiculous.
So here's the thing. When I ask people why the economy now is so good under Obama, what he did, they cannot name one thing. They have not. They just say, oh, he did. What did he do? So then I go back and we went through everything that we went through. If you remember last podcast, that if you guys looked at it, we put together probably halfway through the show the 12 or 13 things that he did that were just tragic.
Yeah, that's under the facts about our economy.
Correct.
That's the, if you guys want to look back at the
correct.
Yeah.
And they said, no, that's not true. And then people told me that I cherry picked. One of these gentlemen told me I cherry picked the information. Here's the analogy I'm going to use for those of you who like baseball out there. The facts that were in this was from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So these were a government agency. The statistics I chose that I so-called cherry picked. If you want to make a baseball analogy, this is how I compare it to. It would be like getting a team that had a 40 and 120, 122 record. Their win and loss record, their batting average, their earned run average, their runners with scoring position, that type of thing. Those were the facts. That's why the team was 40 and 122.
Stats, actual stats.
Now here's
the
where
reasons why.
Exactly. Now here's where I say that they would throw in some cherry pickers. Like maybe at 40 and 122, they won the most games that year when their team committed 3 or more errors. I mean, it's just nonsensical. You still won 40 games. It doesn't matter. Or, they had the most come from behind victories when they left double-digit, runs, their pitchers. It was ridiculous stuff. And no matter what you came at, today I had a gentleman say, when I mentioned Solyndra and the $2.3 billion that Obama, taxpayer dollars that Obama invested in solar energy and the green energy plan, which he did. Not only was it Solyndra, it was Beacon Corporation, Fisker, and like 6 in total. This arrogant idiot came on a State of the Union address about 6 years ago. And he said on Tuesday night, which was the State of the Union, that America led the world in green energy and solar paneling technology, and that we were cutting edge and setting the trend for the world. Then on Friday morning, every one of these companies filed bankruptcy. And so this guy said it wasn't true. So I proceeded to go to Reuters Business, pull an article out on September the 1st, 2011. I had bankruptcy documentation, paperwork. I put on my page. He said it's not true. So my question to this gentleman, and I'll leave it over to Sal, is how can you argue with someone like this? You can't. You can't. You're showing government documents that this company filed bankruptcy. The CEO resigned over these allegations. They wind up stealing basically all this money, and he would not look at it, read it, or say it was true.
Yeah, that's where we're going to come down to the point now, guys, where if you come out straight attacking us, name calling, it's just an instant ban now. It's no more playing games, no more giving facts, because they don't listen to the facts.
They don't care.
No one cares. They don't care. They don't care that they have a whole podcast page forum full of people opposing what they say.
Right. Yeah.
And they just don't care. And so it's instant ban. Right. It's instant. We're done with these people.
It's just a waste of time.
And a lot of people, that's like a coward move. It's not. When you cannot get through to the other side, you will not get one phrase will not get into these people's heads. It will not change the way they're jerks.
Right. And I even asked this one gentleman, I said, well, what's your solution? And he came out bashing Trump. Yeah, and I said to him, you didn't answer the question. And then the same gentleman had the balls to tell me that Hillary was ethical. Yeah. And I'm like, listen, you might want to say a lot of things about Hillary. You want to say she's resilient. You might want to say she's tough. Any of those things I could sit and take. If you're going to say she's ethical, and then I give you 10 reasons why she's not, and you're like, it's not true, she's never convicted.
We're done here.
We're done.
And then especially, this is the other thing about liberal people. They're all supposed to be, this is what I noticed, that hands down across the board about every liberal person who attacks us. It's always the same with them. I thought, and before I get into it, what's the one thing I thought liberal people were all about?
Tolerance.
A great word, tolerance, especially tolerance of the LBGQ community. The gay community.
Yep.
They all call us gay. They all call us fags. They all call us crazy. I'm like, this is so against what they believe in. How could they call us faggots?
Well, it is. It's funny.
It makes no sense.
The dude, that's the first thing the dude said.
Yeah.
The dude made fun of.
Gay? My fucking stepdad, dude. Are you fucking retarded?
Well, the dude made fun of our candle, and he said, "You guys look cute." And when I mentioned to him, I go, "Dude, this is my kid. Are you insane? Like, are you like that is something that is just, but you're right though. they're the first ones that come out, and I don't know if you heard it. And now that Sal mentions this, there was a woman, I think, now I'm going to be mistaken. She was a black woman. I don't know her name, but she either was on CNN or ESPN. I know that's a weird dichotomy because one's sports. It might be, but she came down on the homosexual community horrifically. She made fun of the person she was debating against, calling him a faggot. And that's what these people do. I'm like, wait a second.
They're on the same side.
Yeah, I'm like, like the first thing I hear, and we have a friend, well, I shouldn't say a friend, or a former friend, who used to say to people who were homosexuals, homosexuals should not be Republicans. They have to be Democrats. And I'm like, what the fuck kind of reasoning is that? They're the first ones that, excuse me, come out intolerant against them. So we got called that. We got called faggot. We got called all these names, which I laugh. I think it's funny, but it's just a lame ass thing because they're the ones supposed to be intolerant.
Yeah.
But
and it goes back to the first thing I said. They attack, we respond, they play victim. We see your diversion tactics, and we're going to go right through them now.
Exactly, and that's what the title of the show, the 36 Red podcast was. Also, just a quick shout out, as always, got to give a shout out to Frank Alessio, our boy Frankie. Frankie and George Facetta today came, and the three of us.
Yeah, I thank you guys. I feel bad that you have to go through that shit.
Yeah, the three of us at one point just said to each other, "This is nonsense." And so, and the two of you guys, to your credit, gave a lot of outstanding arguments. And I'm not just saying this because you did. You came up with facts and proof, and they used their old. It's like they have
diversion tactics.
Yeah, well, they have the old penny in their pocket. The old transference. Yeah. Everything that we said, they just took and just threw it back in our lap like a hot potato, and it's just nonsense. So that's something we've been seeing a lot, and this week we had a lot. Also had an older black gentleman who seemed very nice, and he called us young men, which I respected. And he said, "You young men just don't know what you're talking about." And I responded back to him, "Please, sir, I appreciate your comments. What is it that we were wrong about?" Well, we never heard from him again because
it's like they won't get into it.
They just won't get in because they cannot talk facts. They just want to. They don't agree with what you say because it hurts. The truth does hurt them. Very much so.
And what it does is it makes them take an inward look on themselves, and it makes them realize, oh, I'm not as moral as I try to be, as I come off as.
Right. And their moral superiority complex.
And then if you throw the word God in there, that's all you need to do to set a fire, and I like wildfire right there.
Well, speaking of God, I have to say, I saw a news report today. And there was finally some reports out. It wasn't reported about a lot. You didn't hear about it on any of the major news networks. I did some scourging, and I went back and looked because when Jerry Brown was there, I couldn't find any information on there. Like, unfortunately, the Vatican and this Pope continuously let me down as a Catholic. As a kid coming up in Catholicism, I believe, obviously, Sal and I and my wife and, a lot of people I deal with, 99% believe in God. We believe in the Almighty Creator. We believe in Jesus. We believe in the afterlife. However, the Catholic Church just continuously shows their crazy ass liberal mentality. And now it's gotten to the point where I can honestly say people like the Pope and the Vatican in Rome choose liberalism over their supposed pledge they take in life to uphold the word of the Lord. And what I mean by that is, first off, we'll go back. I'm not going to talk about this because we all know about it, but the first time I was let down by the church was when the whole priest pedophilia thing came up. It couldn't have been handled any worse by the Vatican and by all the archdioceses here in America and around the world. And I don't know if they did it because of ethics or money. Probably both. But they just basically played a shell game with all these pedophilia priests and moved them around, and they let these priests go and rape other boys. Yep. But today, they called Governor Jerry Brown, who's one of the biggest pro-abortion people in government since he was in his young days of. And listen, whether you believe in abortion or whether you not believe in it, it's not. I'm not the Pope. I'm not the Vatican. I have my personal preferences on them, and I'll tell. If you ask me, I'll tell you. I believe in abortion in the early stages of month. I don't believe in abortion after 6 months. I don't even believe in after 4 months. If you had sex with someone and you got pregnant and the girl wants to take the morning after pill, I'm cool with it. I can't be, that's your prerogative. I'm fine. I'm not going to judge you. However, if you do it like 5 months, 6 months, and you're screwed up in the head. But the Pope and the Vatican and Catholicism is pretty much dead fast anti-abortion. And today they came out for his climate change, which is bullshit, and which we know is bullshit. It's been proven. Al Gore, just look him up.
Well, it's a moneymaker.
Exactly. But they cheered him today, which was disgusting.
Yeah, 14 people that they filmed cheered him.
Cheered him.
What was
they wrote tweets about him saying he was a hero to America.
What are you talking about though?
Jerry Brown in the Vatican.
Oh, so you're just going off how he wants to be morally superior.
Yeah, and we talk about God and talk about God and that stuff, but it's just the Catholic Church is in the dump. It's just ridiculous what they're sticking up for Jerry Brown. He's the biggest shithead in politics. Bottom line, it's
like they tried to go with this whole. They're trying to make religion like a socialist global thing.
That's what they're doing,
and it makes it. That's the whole point of religion, though. Yep. It's not that. It's not absolutely the opposite of that, almost. It's smaller groups that worship the same whatever. But like I said before last week, we in my generation, the younger generation, not the ones we saw on Facebook, obviously, we all believe in God. We just don't go to a church to believe it, like to pray to Him. We pray to Him in our bed. We go,
right,
like. When I brush my teeth, I'll say a prayer. Just little things like that, We know He's always around, so we don't have to go, all right, I have to go talk to God at 1 o'clock today. I can talk to God whenever I want. Unfortunately,
people have had a lot of bad experiences in church, and just for the reasons I stated 3 minutes ago. So I don't really want to get into that, but I just want to move on and kind of tie that into what Sal was talking about. That's why we got craziness last week. Right, and atheism is a crazy thing. How he's talking about science. You guys don't know about science, and oh my Lord, it was insane.
Atheism to me is just very, very bitter people, very bitter. Like stuff. So bad stuff happens. There's the fact about it. Tragedy will happen to 100% of everybody in their life. It just happens at earlier stages for some, later stages for others.
Yep.
These people, they've had tragedy before. I would say half of them have had tragedy. The other atheists are just. They're retarded.
Right.
But half of them had tragedy. They can't get over it.
Well,
they're bitter. Well, they're just bitter,
they
bitter people.
If there was a God,
they would have
happen.
This for me.
Idiot. It's called life. Yeah. And if you believe in what's going on in the afterlife up in heaven, and listen, not to be all, I'll tell you a personal story, not to be all, philosophical on you, but this is a true story. After my mom passed, her and I, obviously all you on Facebook know that we were super tight. She was the shit, bottom line. Taught me, I'm the man I am today predominantly because of my mom. And she beat this into my head. She took the time out of her life to sit down with me and just not tell me things, but explain why and how to take the right course of life. So when she passed, I was pretty pissed off. And I didn't blame God or not. I was just pissed off. This is life. Yeah. And I went to go see this woman in Montville. She's a medium. And basically, in a nutshell, she told me some stuff that is impossible for a person to know because they were one-on-one conversations I had with my mom that no one else was present, nor did I ever tell anyone. So I went in being a skeptic, and within 5 minutes, I was a firm believer that, wow, this is something's out there. This is some crazy shit that this woman knows. I mean, 3 things that I had conversations solely. It was only the 2 of us. I never told anyone in my whole entire life. She knew about them. And they were intricate details. The reason I'm mentioning it because at the end of the conversation, the very last thing this woman said to me is she said this. She said, your mother knows you're angry about her death. And she wants you to let it go because she's incredibly happy where she is. She doesn't suffer anymore. And what she actually feels sorry for is all of you down there because that is hell, basically, where you're living now. And where I am is heaven. And one day we're going to see each other again, hopefully not sooner than later. And enjoy your life. Do what I taught you. I will be here for you when your time comes, a long time from now. And that's it. And so that made me think that there is definitely something more to this life. There has to be. There has to be.
All you got to do is take mushrooms once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. I never did. So, yeah.
Well, I have, and I'll tell you that there's definitely is.
That's cool. But What do you want? What do you got next?
Well, I saw before I have a lot of just crazy kind of social but not so social stuff. But the one thing that I don't, that's sort of policy news that might be going under the table, is the Treasury Department, the actual Treasury Department today.
Okay.
Charge of our finances, budget, all that stuff. They said that the tax plan will pay for itself over the 10-year period.
Okay.
It's great news.
That's great news. I didn't know that.
All the Democrats on the left call it fake math. Now they're calling before they call Trump's they call Trump stuff fake. Okay, he's not an actual politician. Now this is an actual U.S. federal agency, and they're calling it fake. We're coming down a slippery slope with their diversion tactics now. Now they're starting to call actual federal agencies fake. What do you think about that?
It's like we talk about now. Here's the bottom line. And anything or anyone that disagrees with the Democratic liberal point of view automatically has no validity in their eyes. They don't care who it is. And let me tell you something. We shouldn't be surprised, Sal, because they do it to their own people.
I know, but this is an actual
State
department.
Well, it's funny because if that same department had
They're in charge of all the money.
Right. If they had claimed this about Barack Obama, they would be saying, "Oh, they're the best thing since sliced bread." It's almost like, and listen, you want to know why Congress and the Senate have single-digit approval? This is a perfect example, and we're going to go into more about these assholes later. But Congress and the Senate is probably right now the worst job, maybe just above the FBI, maybe below the FBI. I mean, but right now, our government agencies, like our congressmen and Senate people, this is why they have zero credibility. And actually, in retrospect, it helps the conservatives because people just realize how foolish they sound. And let me tell you something: if the economy continues to improve, which I think it will, they'll lose all ground. Because ultimately, and I'll ask your opinion on this. Ultimately, I think people, normal thinking people like the deplorables, people like Sal, my wife, myself, people that I'm friendly with, we're, I believe, normal thinkers. We're objective. We don't toe a Republican line like
that's what these people think that we
right.
do. We don't. Idiots.
Because we come down on the rhinos, and we're going to probably do it in a little while.
Yeah.
But ultimately, what do we care about as Americans? I'll tell you what I care about. And maybe you agree with me, maybe you don't. But this is what I don't care about a lot. First off, I don't care about social issues. I don't give a rat's ass about a social issue. Everything that's social that affects people negatively has been rectified over the last 5 years. You know, I can go into it, but you know what they are. Abortion, gay rights, marriage, whatever. They're all taken care of. They're all taken care of. What do we care about as Americans? First off, after today, we care about being safe.
Yeah.
That is probably up there. We care about the economy because here's the deal. If you don't make money and you're not successful, you can't eat. So we care about the economy. We care about jobs. We care about energy independence. We care about the education of our children. We care about probably the last thing we care about. I'm drawing a blank for some reason, but we probably care, and I'll think about it. But we care about things that are important to us getting through our daily lives. You know, we care about saving the middle class.
I don't care about other people's daily lives and getting it through theirs. It doesn't affect me. Like I don't get it. Like, why do they take up all these social issues that has nothing to do with them? That's what I see all the time. It's just like you see all these people going for gay rights. It's like, you're not gay. What are you doing? Like, I get it. It should be done. They need a voice, but if they can't stand up on their own two legs, maybe they don't deserve a voice. Maybe that's the reason.
Well, here's my point. When I hear that, when people say, to Sal's point, when people say, "Oh, we're here for gay rights," and the first thing I'll ask is, I know it's going to sound like an idiotic question to ask someone like about elementary. Well, what rights don't gays have?
What? Yeah.
Seriously, if someone
they don't
here
get the tax break for being married,
well,
was that it? Was that
they probably they do now probably.
Of course they do now.
So I'm trying to figure out, like, if anyone out there is gay, please tell me what you're suffering from. Now, if you want to go back 40 years ago, yeah, you guys had a legitimate argument. But in 2017, what gay rights do you not have?
Or 2015, what gay rights did you not have?
What do you not have? I can't figure it out. What rights don't women have? Sal brought this up on last podcast about the bullshit going on with the pay. It's equal. Yeah. So what right now, if you want to get into the problems women are having today in Hollywood, in our political system, you better point your finger at the Democrats. And we're going to get into that in a second.
A lot of that's pay for play, bro.
Exactly. Exactly. And
how many Oscars do you want? Well, and that's going to be a hefty payment, right?
And there are some scumbag rhinos that are doing this, and we call them out just as well. So, but we're not talking about the fake shit you guys put out, and we'll get into that as well. But so this is my point. This is what I don't get, and this is it.
No, I'm glad you ended it on the fake shit. I'm glad you ended it on those words. Today, not today, over the weekend, Australian scientists who have been knee-deep in the climate change and all this stuff, Dr. Albert Parker and Dr. Clifford Ollier got caught changing data to make it look like the sea levels have risen. And in actuality, nothing has changed.
And guess what, people? It's not the first time. This is
all just to fit the climate change narrative.
Of course. It's a whole business.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something.
They got paid off, and not even that much money they didn't get paid. Like, it's ridiculous.
This happened under Al Gore. That was proven. Happens today. And listen, I'm going to tell you something else. I'm a firm believer in all the solar stuff going on is exactly the same. So you can lump together one pile of shit, the solar companies, the climate change companies, and the green energy companies. They're all the same. It goes back to the naked communists, Marx, Lenin, and Saul Alinsky. Find an industry that is almost indisputable as far as you can make up data and go for it. And that's what they did. So what happens is every time they fail, they just go on to the next industry. So at first it was green. It was what do you call it? Go green. That failed. Now it's climate change. That failed. Then it's solar. That failed.
You see, every person they target to, it's always global children and feeble old people.
Yep.
It's always who they target. We can get to the old people by targeting the children who are just going to go and turn, talk to all their grandparents about getting it, and they don't give a shit because they have all this money.
Yep.
That's how it goes. It's so predictable.
It's incredibly. All I can say is these people who are supposed professionals in their chosen job have no hesitation to lie, cheat, and steal for the almighty dollar. And they have nothing. They got no souls. They could care less. They're just getting paid.
To kind of go along with that too, I'm trying to make everything correlate to each other. Excuse me. If you guys are paying attention, you got to pay even closer attention now to this fake news stuff. The Washington Post, I'm not saying this is fake, this is actually real, but now they're starting to post or publish stuff against the Democrats, stuff that is bad against the Democrats, like all the liberal sites, to make it seem like they have credibility to when they drop, like in a month or two when they drop, Trump has seen senility. They're trying to make it look like they're credible now. So they're posting,
after years of shit.
I'm telling you, pay attention. They're trying to save face. So today, the Washington Post published this this article just exposing all the slimy dealings of Fusion GPS. That was the whole article, was about Fusion GPS and how everything they do is slimy and bad.
Yep.
But it's coming from the Washington Post.
Correct.
So what's their end game in it? Well, it's so sad now that they're to the point of fakeness in my mind, and I believe many other people's minds, that it seems that when they do post real news, they're coming at it from an angle.
They have a ulterior motive.
Yeah, and it's just like, man, now I'm so warped up and wrapped up in it, and like I can't ever believe them.
Well,
it's like the boy who cries wolf,
Well, we alluded to this, and the first post on our podcast today was our buddy Sweet Lou Calvito, and he said they're sacrificing Franken because they want to do what you just said. They want to see they have some credibility.
Connor's setting up, so maybe we can get rid of Trump now.
Exactly, that's what they're doing. And well, the funny thing is this: they want to say now, and listen, let's be honest. President Donald Trump, when he was a single man, dated supermodels when he was in his 30s, 40s, and 50s, 60s, and he married several. He dated incredibly beautiful women. Let's just look at his current wife. So what does the DNC do? They pull up all these women accusing Trump of sexual problems, and these women all look like grandmothers. They're horrible looking. And listen, what happened? Did Donald Trump all of a sudden lose his mojo for young, pretty women as a billionaire? I don't think so. I just think if you go back, and I don't know who these women are, I don't know their credibility at all, But I will guarantee you, if you go back and look, every single of these women are lifelong Democrats. Every single one of them are probably worked for Hillary or some Democratic campaign over the years. And it's all bullshit. But they're trying to get their credibility from throwing Franken under the bus now, saying he has to resign. And to be honest with you, Franken is a piece of shit. I could care less about him. But I just love the way, like Sal mentions, that they're doing it because they're trying to get some credibility back after they lost everything.
I don't know. See, the reason that Franken, they must have really did it because they're actually stepping down and admitting to it.
Right.
If you didn't do it, and these are just allegations, like the only actor I've seen that's adamant against all this stuff is Jeremy Piven. He's the only actor saying, I didn't touch any women. These are all, they're all liars. And I respect him for that. Even if he did do it, I kind of respect that he's kind of sticking up for himself and like,
correct.
I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Oh, they're blaming him for something too. Yeah.
Well, he was one of the first few. But that's what Trump says I didn't do it, and that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It's just come on. You got to trust people in their word.
And it's funny because today, now here's what I find funny, and I don't know the answer to this question. I don't know. I would think maybe the governor does it, but if someone knows this, and I'll be the first to tell you that I do not know definitively. I have an idea, but I may be wrong. But as of today, there is a list of like 5 or 6 guys in Congress and the Senate who had to resign because of, and they all resigned. So you had this guy in New York City named Eric Massa. Eric Massa assaulted 2 young male staffers on his campaign. The Congressional Office of Compliance gave each of these kids, there was more than 2, there were several, $100,000 each that we paid for. That's what we talked about a couple weeks ago. But he's out of New York. He's gone. Then you got this California guy named Matt DeBabna who got caught masturbating in front of a lobbyist. He's gone. He basically said, I'm resigning. Then you have this assemblyman named Raul Bocanegra who was sexually inappropriate with like 9 women. He's gone. Then you have this guy who is a real piece of shit. He was Franken's counterpart. So think about this. The whole state of Minnesota, their congressmen both resigned because they both did inappropriate sexual activity with underage women or women. This guy, Dan Schoen, sexual harassment, he's gone. They have him harassing like 13 women. Then you got this rhino, this piece of shit, Trent Franks, who had to step down. So right there is 5 or 6 guys. And then that doesn't even include Franken, doesn't include Conyers. So all told, if you added this up, we have like a laundry list of like 15, 16, 20 senators that have to step down. It's insane. Now, how do they get their places taken? Do they go through another? Does the governor appoint somebody for the remainder? Does they do another election? I have a feeling it's the governor appointee, I think, but I'm not sure. I would need to find. But there's so many that are open now. It's ridiculously crazy.
Well, that's what also I wrote down too, draining the swamp.
Yes, and that's exactly what it is.
Seems like the swamp's getting drained right now.
Yep. Well, I think we have to address here in, thank God, here in New York and New Jersey, Connecticut, we had another terrorist attack that went astray. And the only thing that I am upset about is that this piece of shit didn't blow his own legs off. He was laying there and he had some pain. I was hoping
it could have been a lot worse though, if he wasn't in that.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping I would look down and see he had no legs from his waist down because that's what he deserves. But hopefully, I don't know his injuries. Hopefully, he's talking.
Yes, I saw it. He got burned.
He got burned.
Yeah.
But his name was Akiad. He had a really crazy ass.
Bangs from Bangladesh.
Akiad Yula. And he came in on the F-43 Visa Chain Immigration Act, which Donald Trump is against. Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were for. So now if you think about it, in the last month, I should say, we had this idiot bringing 2 pipe bombs into the subway, and just because he was incompetent and inept, he failed. And then we have this jerk off driving over the people with his truck not too long ago and killing them. So I have a question. Sal and I can go on and on about all the instances, not just in America, around the world, of these crazy-ass radical Islamic refugees coming into this country illegally and causing problems.
Finish. I have an anecdote for that.
Go ahead. I'm done.
See, I think you're talking about how the libs put up with this and don't even give a shit.
Right. Encourage it.
So I put this. Islamic terrorism is Islamic people, terrorists, doing everything in what? The name of God, right? Allah, God. What obviously
Muhammad.
do liberals not believe in? God.
Yeah.
So therefore, you see the fallacy in it. There you see like the whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Since they don't believe in God, then there could be no problem with God. Therefore, Islam is no problem. See what I'm trying to say?
Well,
see the logic?
Yeah, I see your logic. But here's what I
That's
think.
what they fucking think.
Here's what's funny. Liberals will be the first to rag on Catholicism, Christianity, Judaism.
Will you believe the guy in the sky?
Right. However, you'll never hear them.
But they don't bash Islam.
Exactly. You know why? Because they're afraid that they bash Islam, that these nuts are going to come and kill them.
Well, they're going to kill them anyway.
Well, they don't see that. My question then is, how like, if you thought
you're going up to Port Authority in New York, what do you think? That's 95% liberal. Exactly. What do you think you're going after?
They don't think like that. They actually don't think like that. And the funny part is, until it finally happens to them, but this goes back to the old, crazy brainwashed ideology of these liberals. Like we talked about all the time. I think we talked about it like podcast number 7.
They're logical to a horrible point.
Horrific.
Yeah.
But that radical Islam, and it happens here in America too, so I'm not just blaming foreigners. It happens here, but that they despise women. They hate them. They despise gays. They despise pretty much everybody. They despise Westerners but the gays and women are on their hit list big time. But we've had instances, and we can name them. There was a woman in Italy, Sweden, and one in America that went over to Iran, Iraq, Libya, and they went there to show support for these guys. And what happened? You found them raped and killed and dead in ditches. So that just always makes me think is how I just think liberals are so scared of Islam. Because you remember the dude in Sweden, the cartoonist that wrote cartoons against Muhammad? Radical Islam went nuts and killed the guy. They went nuts and killed him over a cartoon. So, something that the guy drew and put in the paper, they went nuts and killed the guy. So these people are complete cowards.
Okay.
Do me a favor. Name me a liberal that makes fun of, I could tell you a million that make fun of Catholicism, Christianity. Name one in Hollywood or in political that makes fun of Islam. Zero.
They're afraid.
They're terrified. Terrified.
That just makes the terrorists win. Come on, guys.
Exactly. What else you got? Anything?
Yeah, I got.
Go ahead. Go. Of course.
All right. Let's get a little sentimental. Did you see the Keaton Jones video, the Twitter video? You know what I'm talking about?
The little boy, the bully. Yeah.
Heart-wrenching, right?
Yeah.
Did you see what the left did after the media?
I did not see what they did to him.
They're in the South. If guys, you don't know what I'm talking about Keaton Jones. He was
Tennessee, right?
Yeah, he was the little boy from Tennessee who his mother took a video of him crying. She pulled him out of school because he was getting bullied. And he was asking, why did they do this? Why did they do that? And it was really heart-wrenching. It hits home a lot. Like, I mean, everybody has gone through bullying or, something like that in their life. But the left media, instead of going on about how bullying should be stopped, they go on about how his mom took pictures with a Confederate flag back in the day on her Facebook. Yeah, and they started bashing all her Facebook posts, and she had to delete her Facebook. This is what they did.
Exactly.
Not go after the bullying, the problem. They go after the mother's Facebook.
Right.
And her social justice topics.
That just shows you how despicable they are.
They're just evil people.
It's just evil. And that's just completely evil. Like, what, you have no empathy or compassion for a little boy.
Yeah, and then that was one thing. You talk about a unifying thing, left side, right side. Everybody was calling out, yeah, we got to support this young man and stop this bullying. It was great. It was great to see finally a bipartisan issue where people didn't give a
Where's
shit.
Hollywood? Where's Hollywood?
And then they go after his mother,
right?
Taking a picture with a Confederate.
Right.
They live in the South. That's the culture there. It's a straight up culture war now.
Listen, if that bothers you, if the Confederate flag bothers you, then you're an asshole. You are a marshmallow, fluffy, ignorant asshole. Because nothing bothers me. The ISIS. But here's the thing: these same individuals who don't like the Confederate flag applaud the ISIS flag. And if you don't believe me, go to Cal Berkeley video that was taken by Ami. His name was Ami. Whatever his name was, Ami something Weissman or something. He took the video where students clap for the ISIS flag. They support. So I don't give a shit if you don't like the Confederate flag.
And another thing that's really bothering me about this left liberal media is I don't know if you guys are aware about this Arizona police shooting. Do you know about this?
Yeah, I heard about it.
There was this video of this Arizona policeman body cam.
Yes.
Basically murdering another white guy.
Yep.
Where's the outrage?
Yep.
And like, I mean, do you know any of the details about
I
the
do
story?
not know all the details.
The cop had like engraved on the gun that he has, that he carries around, it says, "You're fucked."
Oh, that's great.
On his gun. Yeah. This is the type of insanity that's, you know, that's out there.
And that's the guy who should be exposed.
And like,
but they don't care because he's white.
Because he killed a white guy.
Right.
They don't want to go after.
That's what I'm saying. They don't care because the victim's white.
Where's BLM? Where's all the outrage?
They don't care.
I mean, the video is horrific. I mean, he's telling the guy was an exterminator who he killed. So in Arizona, it's open carry. You're allowed to have 22s,
Correct. Yeah.
especially if you're killing rodents or whoever the guy was.
Yep.
So the guy got reported. He was in some school, like after hours, he was exterminated. That school part, I don't know. I'm making that up.
Okay.
He's someplace where you shouldn't have a gun, and people reported him.
Okay.
But he's an exterminator, and it's open carry, and you're allowed to have guns. And the cop just like kind of, you know, made him crawl out of the room, made him. The guy was like, he's like, now crawl, and the guy was like picking up the back of his pants and he shot him
right in the head,
killed him.
Wow. But you're right. It's
terrifying
because he's white.
All on body cam, all for I mean, that's what bothers me. Because the left says, oh, it was two white guys. A white guy killed another white guy, even though the white cop is egregiously wrong.
Right.
And I mean, you look at a picture of this guy. He looks like someone who just got his ass kicked every day in high school. This poor cop. Yep. You could tell this guy has been beaten down.
Well, now he's going to jail big time.
And then it bothers me. How could someone like that become a cop? Right. This guy was basically Antifa, and he's a cop, a real cop.
Right, a real cop carrying a gun. And I just want to go back to your Keaton Jones story. Yeah. And Sean Hannity did a really cool thing. He said this kid, I think someone reported that the kid wanted to go to college. So Hannity said, let's get a fund for the kid. He put $10,000 of his own money for the kid.
$75,000 right now.
So he's going to go. So and people sit here and criticize, you know, but what Sal said is true. Like, because, you know, it's something that can unify. Who wants to watch an 8-year-old boy crying necessarily because you're getting tortured every day at school? Yeah. But they don't say nothing about that. They could care less about the kid. They could care less. Exactly. It's just disgusting behavior. It's like you said, it's just sickening. Yeah. Liberals' sickness, their mental retardation of acting like diseased, brain dead people, drones. That's what we see every day.
It's just like, if they don't, I don't get it. It's like if they have to be morally superior to feel better about themselves, and if they don't, I don't know, they have to lash out at you. It's really bizarre.
I want to bring something up today because I did some research on this thing, but I want to mention, for those of you watching, the word treason. We talk about it a lot. I personally believe our former president, Barack Hussein Obama, is committing treason against America. He committed treason to me multiple times during his 8 years. But now that he's off the job, you know, he's committing treason again. He's a multi-offender of treasonous activity against this republic. He did it when he was on the job. We can talk about that at another time. But he did it when he went to China after Donald Trump's visit. But today, we find out that Obama had a top aide named Jim Margolis who worked for him. He was a good butt buddy of Barack Obama. They work on a company. They work for a company called Highway 31, which is basically a company. It's a consulting company, a radical left-wing consulting company, funded by George Soros. In the last 3 weeks, they've spent $4 million on bashing President Trump and Roy Moore. Also, they work coinciding with a company called Waterston Strategies. Waterston Strategies, another left-wing radical finance company by George Soros, and they've spent tens of millions of dollars in the last 6 months on just making up lying, slanderous, and treasonous accusations against our president, conservatives, and other people out there that they don't agree with. How is this man not called to task? I don't give a shit. He's a private citizen now. I don't care if he's a former president. He is committing treason against this country. He hates this country. So we find this out today, and guess what? I didn't see this on any news organization. Nothing. I don't know if you
I read it briefly this morning. It was like it was a Reuters thing.
You don't hear anything about that.
Oh man, this dude, he kills me. The guy, I don't know if it was the leader of Libya right now, if Libya even has a leader right now. A leader over there in the Middle East. They're called Barack Obama. He's like, everyone saw the video, I hope, of the slaves in Libya, and someone over there, a higher power over there, he goes, yeah, well, the slave master is Obama. Yeah. So they're like, like he's the actual slave master.
It's funny when you hear that.
It is. It's really funny because it's true. He's the one who created that whole vacuum.
Yeah.
He went in there, killed Gaddafi.
Well,
that's when you get that.
He told everyone when he was leaving, and they all came in when he left, and they turned the place into a shithole.
I mean, that is one of the most damning videos that ever came out about Hillary Clinton.
Yep.
That we saw, he died video where she laughed like a fucking lunatic.
Yeah.
What a weird woman that lady is.
What, you got anything going on there?
Yeah, I got the last thing I'm going to talk about today. I don't know how much you know about this. I don't know how much maybe our audience knows about this, but you definitely are hearing a lot about it. It's the net neutrality laws that are going down, and that people, I just feel like, don't understand the internet too well. So let me try to break that down. You know what's going on with that?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll have my.
So basically, I don't even know how I feel about net neutrality. For some, it might be good. For a lot, it might be bad. It depends on it. This is really going to shake up the internet, guys. This net neutrality thing, because what it's going to be is for websites with higher bandwidth, like Facebook, like some other, like YouTube, for the really high traffic sites. You're going to have to pay to get on those sites now. So what's this going to do? Like, you're going to have to pay to access the larger bandwidth,
right,
to get onto the actual platform.
You know what I say to that?
This could kill some social platforms.
Well, watch, because here's what I always say. Once
the tech guys, I'm sorry, the tech people and everyone, they're going crazy over this, right, because they know this. And as a capitalist thing, I myself, I'm not sure I like that, because then we're going to have to start paying for things that are free now that we already use, like I'm saying, like YouTube and stuff. Maybe it's going to be a good thing. Maybe it's going to be a bad. It's one of these things. I'm not sure how it's going to be until it plays out.
I personally think this. Once people get something for free, very few will pay for it.
Yeah, but
very few.
You're not even going to be able to get access to it. It's going to be like cut off basically to you. Unless you pay.
Right. I don't see a lot of people, and it depends on the cost. If you're paying $1, one thing, but if you're paying $10 a month or $20 a month, I think.
It might be like $10 for access. They don't know yet. Like, say, how many times do people go on Facebook a day? 20 times? $10 each time. Who's going to do that?
No one's going to do it.
Exactly.
Facebook will die.
Well, I'm not saying that's going to happen.
Right,
I'm just saying possibilities.
No, but I think even if they charge, say, a monthly fee of like $39.99,
it'll die. Yeah.
People will not pay, because there'll be an alternative coming out for someone who has no.
Someone will figure out a new stream.
Yeah, you would have to do that without a doubt. Yeah.
I think that is going to harbor competition, and I think that's a good thing. But I'm very skeptical on this net neutrality.
I don't see it. If you do that to like you, I see those platforms dying.
That's why the tech companies are freaking out.
That's what I said.
Freaking out. They're going crazy out there. As capitalist business people, they're like, maybe it's not such a bad idea. I'm in the. I don't know if it's going to be good or bad. I have to wait and see.
The thing that upsets me is on the net neutralities. I really don't think there's any net neutrality right now. Right now we've had a little power shortage.
I mean, even my laptop blinked. Yeah, that's weird. That's on battery. That was strange.
Yeah, but everything just went boop. Like God was pissed off.
It had to be because that's on a battery. That's not on electricity.
Right.
That blinked.
Yeah, something's going on. There's God coming down on us. But my thing about my thing about net neutrality is, I want net neutrality on information sources. Meaning, stop with the favoritism towards liberal causes and shitting on conservatives. Sal will tell you, last week we tried to get our podcast out. We weren't able to.
Not for 2 days.
2 days. We were shut down.
And then one day I think I got reported.
Right. We got shut down. So, like, it's weird. Like, we looked at it and, like, we couldn't, my wife couldn't duplicate it to other sites. We couldn't say it was ridiculous.
But somehow, some way, we still got our numbers, and I thank everyone for actually
it happens all the time though to us.
Yeah.
And that when I talk about net neutrality, that's what I'm talking about is a level playing field for all free speech and open viewpoints on not just radical left, but also middle of the road and conservative viewpoints. That's what I'm talking about, and that hasn't happened in a long time.
No, definitely. They push certain subjects up, certain subjects down.
And I don't know if you got. I want to mention this because I don't, and I got to thank John Ricciardelli for this. And I don't know, Johnny. I just want to say thank you, but I don't know if you saw last Friday. This guy is a beast. He's a former Marine who became a prosecutor, and he's out of Ohio. His name is Jim Johnson. I actually think that this gentleman is the rising star in the Republican Party. He is an animal. He tore Chris Wray, who's the new FBI director, a new asshole, and he did not pull back. Matter of fact, he was like a locomotive. As you got him going, his 10 minutes became, he pasted them. He just, I'll put this, Chris Wray is an FBI director. He's supposed to have his I's dotted, his T's crossed. Jim Johnson literally destroyed him. He decimated him on the stand. He could not make, he went against this guy, Peter Strzok, that we all know that was biased and did all this crazy stuff. And we found out with Chris Wray agreeing that Peter Strzok was the guy who changed Hillary's testimony and then changed what Comey said about the gross negligence. That it was Peter Strzok who changed it, and Comey agreed, which Jim Johnson pointed out was illegal to do. It's a felony. So he has them on. He has those two gentlemen on those charges alone already, but he owned him like there was nobody's business, and he just kept going after him. And I highly recommend you watch this. I would like Jeff Sessions to resign, and I want this Jim Johnson guy to be the new AG because he's a beast. Here's a guy who fought. I think he did several tours over the Middle East as a Marine. He doesn't give a shit about anything but finding out the truth, and he mentioned that. But with all that being said, he also, I don't know if Chris Wray was incompetent or Chris Wray didn't know or Chris Wray just lied. But Chris Wray, Jim Johnson asked him specifically about FISA applications. And Chris Wray kept going back to that. We can't open up what was given on the FBI dossier. And he said, no, Director Wray, I'm not asking. I'm asking how the application was there. And he goes, well, you can't look at the application. The application is classified. And right then you could see the sparkle in Jim Johnson's eye because he said basically this, FBI Director Wray, you do not know that the Congressional Committee has authority over classified information put out by FBI, and he was stunned, and then he said he could not recall what was in it. So he got destroyed and owned. And this guy, Jim Johnson, he's a beast. I love him. I really like him a lot. And I go to C-SPAN and watch it. It was really, really good how he just killed this guy. And now you could basically say, on the stand, Jim Johnson got ready to say that Comey, Mueller, Rod Rosenstein, Andrew Weissman, Loretta Lynch, Holder, Bill Clinton, and all these people basically committed felonies, and maybe even Andrew McCabe. So we have a handful of Democrats. And then he also said, I love this. He goes, how is it that you named 96% of people on your investigative committee gave large sums of money to the Democratic Party and Hillary Clinton and posted anti-Trump? And he said he couldn't recall. And then Jim Johnson just tore him a new one. But this is the kind of guys we need because right now we have a bunch of weasels and even the rhinos are weasels.
I think that's what is happening now. Like all these, I know it looks bad because a lot of Republicans stepped down, a lot of Democrats, like what's going on with I think this is the draining of the swamp.
Yes,
finally,
I agree.
Finally, it's happening.
I agree. I think it's correct. I think it is draining of the swamp, and I think it's going to continue. And you're going to see a lot of really shitty people out there. We've already found out how shitty a lot of these guys are.
I think that's kind of why everyone's like, oh, everyone kind of has these awful feelings right now about everything because all we see is shit.
We do.
But give it another year, and maybe all we're going to see is positive and good because good people will be in there.
I'm hoping. And that's the question I like is how these people, when they say step down, how they get appointed. I have a feeling it's the governor, but I'm not sure.
Let's hope.
I hope it. I hope they're either go back to being elected, or you have a basically a governor who's got some brains, not like De Blasio or just Murphy. You have somebody who hires, appoints a good candidate who's for the people and isn't part of the swamp. That's what I hope.
Exactly, me too.
You got anything else?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Go ahead.
Well, I said I was gonna end on the net neutrality. I'm gonna do along the same lines with the internet stuff. I'm gonna finish how I always like to finish with the AI and the questions.
Yeah.
All the skepticism out there. Netflix. I don't know if you guys saw this creepy tweet Netflix sent out today. It goes, this has got a lot of people talking and questioning things about Netflix. This is the tweet. It goes, to the 53 people who watched this blah, blah, blah movie over the past 2 weeks, 18 times in the past 2 weeks, who hurt you? So people are like, it's a joke, haha. Then it's like, how do they know the exact 53 people who watched this movie over the past 2 weeks? Like, how much are they actually watching you? How much are they actually documenting you?
Wow.
Your viewing habits. And who else is doing it now? If Netflix knows these 53 people have been streaming this movie for 18 days straight, what else do they know? Like, Now it came out also that Twitter, and not Twitter because there's also Twitter, it's also Facebook, it's also Instagram, the bots. Like I was I talked to you before, maybe not on the podcast, about people can set up an army of bots.
Yeah.
Now it's getting exposed that people have a legit army of bots. They'll create a bot, which then will create a whole community around the bot. It will just be a bot community, a 300, 400, 700 people on Facebook.
Yeah.
Bot community.
Yeah, well, they come. I think those are like
I think that we see them all the time, and all it is, it's whoever's doing. I'm not saying it's the left or the right. I'm just saying whoever's in charge of this AI, they're trying to disrupt normal human behavior.
Right.
They're trying to throw a monkey wrench in society.
Well, it's funny because Sal's much more up on this as I said a couple of days ago.
They can make they can make bots off of me and Gary.
Right.
Like we could be fictional characters. They can use our voices.
Yeah.
They can have them, since there's so much of our podcast out, they can have it literally say anything.
Right, because they have the word. But I'm not the most tech savvy guy. I admit to it. I'm proud. I don't want to be. I just don't really. I'm not really into it. Like I'll smash a computer before I spend time trying to figure it out. I have no patience. But Sal knows this shit because that's his generation, and that's what he does every day. But I didn't realize that sometimes we will have people, supposed people who aren't friends of any of ours, who come out of nowhere. Some of them don't have profiles, or they just have like a name, and they'll come out with this, calling us a name or some ridiculous statement, and then we question them, and you never hear from them again. And those are the bots Sal's talking about. It happens all the time. Sometimes we have 500, 600, 700 comments, and then all of a sudden, when you get this many comments, I could see. And the thing I do understand, because I'm good at math, is I understand that these companies put in algorithms. They put in algorithms where maybe you hit a certain threshold and all of a sudden bots shoot out. They say, hey,
or they see a certain trigger word like God or something like that.
Or you see hey, listen, when somebody gets 500 comments, boom, a bot goes out. And it happens a lot because I think we had one of our busiest podcasts, I think 1 or 2 ago. We had a lot of comments, almost 1,000, I think. And all of a sudden I saw like 3 or 4 people who, when I went and looked at the profile, it was just a name, and then it didn't have any pictures, or it had one picture that made no sense, and then
it'd be like a group of pictures that line up to create something.
Yeah,
it's like,
it
what
was
is
weird,
this?
or like a lot of stupid memes or whatever that made no sense. Anyway, but they would come out with a dichotomatic view of what we said that didn't make much sense, and then when you question them, they never heard from them again, or they would just send a couple stupid comments on it. But that's what Sal's talking about, and I think it happens way more than you think. Yeah. And there's people way smarter than us, like people who I call intelligent but not very smart. But these are basically geeks, computer geeks, who sit in a room all day playing on a computer in their parents' basement, and/or sitting somewhere and just pumping out this crazy algorithms every day, making up these bots, which is, to people, normal thinking people, who the hell would want to do that?
It's a whole business.
It's a business.
It's a whole business.
Exactly. They're making money.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you have anything else, but the last thing I want to end on.
Jobs.
Exactly. Yep. I want to end and on a really positive note is that, and I like it because it's very time dated. November just ended literally a week ago or so. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics came out and said that even with all the hurricanes, which caused a lot of problems to the economy, which we know, and these were hurricanes of godlike proportions, epic proportions. I mean, the ones in Houston, the ones in the South, they were ones in Puerto Rico. They were all-time Category 4 worst hurricanes of all time. Even with that being said, the economy went up 228,000 jobs in November for an unemployment rate of 4.1, which is incredibly low, lowest in like 20 years, 25 years.
I have written down 2.2 million jobs since the election.
Yeah,
have been created.
Yeah,
and
he's just getting started, people. He's just getting started, and I think I would like. It's my hope. If I had one Christmas wish for our politics and our media, I would love for them to stop talking about this nonsense. And if President Trump doesn't stick by his word, he played on his hashtag MAGA about creating jobs, Sal and I will be the first to say, hey, that economic policy didn't work. That tax plan didn't work. And here's the thing.
We don't know yet.
I don't know yet. And listen, here's the thing also. I don't care if a politician tries something and fails. I really don't. However, what I want that person to do, whether they're Republican or Democrat, is find a solution and make it better. Listen, if you're in the charge of a company or in charge of a region in sales or whatever you do, and you do something and it fails, if you're in that meeting with that board of directors and that president and VP, you better say before why you failed and what you're going to do to make it better. And I will promise you, I've done this 1,000% of the times. It worked in my favor, where when you give a solution, people know you're doing the right thing. And they don't bother you or question you because they say, okay, let's see how that plays out. Hopefully your ideas will work. But President Trump, the media, if they could only start concentrating on what we care about as American people that I mentioned earlier, this country would be a lot better off. But they're still going, the Russia-Trump collusion is gone now, so now they're trying to find some other bullshit to go on. It's just pathetic. So I call it the media, which I don't think will ever happen because we got a bunch of shitheads in that department. They're being paid. But start concentrating people on the positives of what's going on, because there's a lot.
Yeah. And listen, you got to go to work. You got to do your job. Life's not changing. Come on.
Right. It's not changing. Tired of the whining and bitching on the left.
It's still ridiculous.
Listen, we're a couple weeks away here from Christmas, Hanukkah. I want to wish
tomorrow.
Yeah, Hanukkah's tomorrow. So to all our Jewish friends out there, have a happy Hanukkah. Enjoy your next bunch of days. And with that being said, the Red Podcast now is wrapping up. Sal,
later, baby.
Yeah, Sal, my boy Sal, saying see you. We're gonna go grab some sausage and peppers that G made. Peace out, everybody. Have a great night. We'll talk to you guys soon. Look forward to your comments.
Love you guys. Bye. I figured it'd be fun to just